If you are a keen observer of what is Jimmy Comey, and you see him doing his media hits, he seems a lot like a reptile, a certain snake. I mean, in one way, Jimmy Comey is a skilled liar. In another way, he's not a skilled liar because he forgets there is a universe of evidence into what his FBI became and the FBI that he works at and continued to try to foster respect for and came back as a special consultant for. So Jimmy Comey is continuing his tour, and it is a smart thing that he did, 8647. Of course, I don't believe that he found the seashells, neither do you. I believe he arranged them, and I'm sure you believe the same thing. And then he posted it knowing exactly what would happen, knowing he wasn't going to get punished, knowing that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino would bring him in just so that they could make us feel better that he'd been brought in. But they're not going to do anything. But he sounds like a snake. And not a particularly smart snake. Clever, sure, the snake was clever. But he doesn't sound like a particularly brilliant snake because he's forgetting the sea of evidence that exists. Jimmy Comey went on with Jen Psaki on MSNBC to talk about the FBI.
Things that is happening now is that the Trump administration is, of course, testing the system in ways it hasn't been tested before. In the law enforcement sense, do you think there are laws that should be put in place that would help better manage this that aren't in place now? I mean, are we equipped? Is the law enforcement system and the legal system equipped to deal with what we're seeing now?
Probably there could be changes at the margins, but in the main, we have the tools. There are cultural impediments to doing this work. Let's say you work in the FBI. You know that one of the two political parties is, let me put it nicely, white supremacist adjacent at a minimum. And so why would you want to throw your career on that side of the line and be summoned to Capitol Hill to be asked, why are you pursuing these innocent groups? And so we have a cultural impediment to working it effectively that should get more attention than it does.
Gosh, I wonder what party he's speaking of. The party with which he identifies uses racism as policy. They issue anti-Semitism as policy. They have among the leaders of their parties people who tout the work of Hamas. A cultural impediment? If they're white supremacist adjacent, point out the policy. And if you're going to make it the border, then explain to me why we're also securing the northern border, where we're far less likely to see brown people coming in. If you want to talk about culture, why don't you look at cultural movements? Why don't you look at the way people act? Jimmy Comey forgets that there is a sea of evidence about the corruption of the FBI, and we can boil it down to one specific case, which is a pretty amazing one, particularly how it's being covered by the Mockingbird media, and that shouldn't surprise us because they're utterly corrupt, and I'll tell you about this in a second. We are at this point where we have judges now, once again, district court judges, making decisions, or we had these three judges say no tariffs. Yep, Congress gave the president the right to adjust tariffs, but not this president. So we're seeing this, and we had plans for what President Trump was trying to do. Some of us had hopes. Is your retirement account connected to this? The answer is yes. It's connected to every bit of what happens in our country at the federal government level because they've seized control of so much. So my question for you is this. Do you want to know how much risk your portfolio is exposed to given the back and forth in our economy and what these judges are doing? Do you want to know how much hidden costs is in your portfolio? I mean, for all the costs you pay, that's money you don't have for retirement. Here's an opportunity that you can take advantage of. It's free, there's no obligation, and it's actually fun because he's a fun guy. My friend Zach Abraham, the Chief Investment Officer of Bulwark Capital Management, will give you a free review of your portfolio. He'll go through 2-3 conversations with you, figuring out what you want out of retirement, where you're at, and he'll come back with a plan. You can say yes or no to the plan, and there's no hurt feelings either way, but you'll know exactly what Zach can do for you versus what's getting done for you. So go to knowyourriskradio.com. Oh, wait, no, they've changed that. Go to knowyourriskpodcast.com. That's knowyourriskpodcast.com and simply sign up for the free, no obligation consultation. Again, it's knowyourriskpodcast.com. Investment advisory services offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not guaranteed. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. Truck 25-217. So Jimmy Comey spoke of a cultural problem. Let's speak about a cultural problem. NBC News put this on Twitter-X. Breaking. President Trump says he'll take a look at pardoning the men convicted in a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. And of course, she is not a governor. She is a dictator. And she proved that. Julie Kelly, who's done more reporting on this than any living human being ever will, pointed something out very, very important. I've yet to see a major news organization include the fact that the 5 men were acquitted at trial and 2 men incarcerated on federal charges received a hung jury on the first trial. Media continues to blatantly ignore extensive FBI entrapment. There were more informants involved in this, FBI people, than there were actual actors. And in fact, they endeavored to keep the plan going. And Jimmy Comey wants to talk about culture.